If email isn't making up at least 30 to 40% of your total store revenue, you're either missing one of these flows or you've got one set up wrong and don't know it yet. I work with ecom brands on their email and SMS, and when I audit an account, the problems are almost always the same. Either flows are missing entirely, or the trigger is wrong, or there are only 2 emails in the sequence when there should be 6, or smart sending is enabled and emails are being blocked without anyone noticing. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 email flows that every e-commerce brand needs. For each one, I'll cover why it exists, how to structure it, what to actually send, and the mistakes I see the most often that kill performance. If you're already running all 5, stay until the end to see the structure set up, as that's where people mostly go wrong. Let's get into it. Okay, so the top 5 email flows that every e-commerce brand needs. It doesn't matter whether you're selling skincare, clothing, food or beverage, whatever it might be. These are the absolute must that you need to install today. So just a quick one, what are email flows in case you're absolutely brand new to this and you're not sure? Email flows are these sequences of emails that send automatically based on a specific action a customer takes. So think someone browsing a product or adding an item to a cart. That's probably the one you're most familiar with, where people add something to their cart. You've probably seen it in your own inbox, that you get an email 20 minutes later saying, hey, you left this in your cart. Things like that, actions that people take on your website, okay? And then a sequence of emails is fired automatically in the background. So unlike campaigns, which you send manually, those one-off emails, the sales, the nurturing, the educational ones, flows are running 24/7. So you only have to set them up once. If you set them up properly, they can generate you revenue around the clock without you lifting a finger. So the first flow we're going to go over is the welcome series. The welcome series is the highest revenue generating flow, which is why it's number 1. The welcome series is the sequence of emails that someone receives after giving you their email address, whether that's through a pop-up form or an embedded form on your website. It's your brand's first impression, and it consistently will have the highest revenue generating flow. So if you have flows up and live now and you're having a look at what's making the most revenue, your welcome series should be number 1. The whole purpose of the welcome series is to drive the first purchase. So I've got the triggers for all of these flows set up. So if you are setting these up within Klaviyo, I've got all the triggers here listed. You can follow along while you're doing it, but the trigger to set this flow up is going to be, the trigger will be added to the list. So when someone submits through your pop-up form or the embedded form on your website, have them submit to whatever list you want. It's probably just called email list in Klaviyo. So when they're added to the list, that's the trigger. Then you want the profile filter to be placed order equals 0 over all time. So that ensures only new customers enter the flow. You don't want people who have already bought from you entering the flow. And it also means that when someone makes a purchase and they place an order, that they will then be removed from the flow. The welcome series then has done its job, it's done its purpose, it has drove the first purchase. At that point, they would be taken out of the flow and moved into a post-purchase flow. So I've got on the right here sort of what you should be doing with the timings and what each email, the content that should be inside of it. So it's quite long. You can see here the flow is quite long. It's 7 emails long. It's the longest flow that you would probably have set up. Because again, it's the most important to drive that first purchase. So there's a lot of content to cover when someone is just being introduced to your brand. So what to focus on? So lead with your offer immediately. Whatever you've promised in your pop-up form, deliver it in the first email. This is the moment someone is most likely to buy. So don't give them any friction. If you have led with your pop-up saying you're going to give free shipping, 20% off, 10% off, whatever it might be, deliver that coupon code straight away. Do not drone on about your company values or what your best-selling products on. Just deliver that discount code straight away. They are most primed to buy then, so just give it to them straight away. That's for the first email. Moving on from that, you want to be with the rest of these emails. What you want to be doing is introducing your brand. So who are you? Why did you start this brand? And what problems are you trying to solve? And a plain text email really works well here. So you could do plain text emails from the founder. This is something we see work extremely well, just because everyone is so used to getting emails in their inbox from big brands and they're designed and things like that. But people love buying from people. So when you have a plain text email, it really cuts through the noise. It's very different to what everyone else is receiving in their inbox. So someone gets a plain text email that's wrote by a human and it's from the founder, they just work extremely well. We see that across the board. Then also what you want to be doing then is highlighting your best sellers, layer in some social proof and testimonials to build trust, create urgency around that offer, and then just close out with a final note from the founder before the code runs out. So you're covering all bases here. You're introducing yourself to the brand, you're delivering the coupon, you're highlighting your best sellers, you're overcoming objections, you're highlighting testimonials, and then you're creating that urgency to drive that sale. So I've got a couple examples here of what good welcome series emails look like. So you can see here we've got a brand brand here from Cakebox, where, as I mentioned here about delivering that coupon, they deliver it straight away. It's welcome to Cakebox, and they make it really clear here, 10% off is bolded, use code there, start exploring. They've delivered it straight away. Then you've got these plain text emails here from the founder about why they started the brand. It's exactly what you want to do. You can see here highlighting bestsellers for this email, and then you've got another one here which is highlighting their testimonial. So these are the sort of emails you want to be creating within your welcome series. Quick pause before we carry on. If any of this is making you realize you've got gaps in your account, wrong triggers, missing flows, sequences that aren't structured the way I'm explaining it, that is exactly what I look at on a strategy call. Go to oakhurstmarketing.com using the link in the description, book a call, and I'll go through your entire account with you. We'll identify what's broken, what to fix first, and build a plan that's specific to your brand and your numbers. Link is in the description. Let's keep going. Moving on to flows 2 and 3. So this is a bit of a 2-for-1. You have the abandoned cart and checkout. So you can set these flows up the same. They're just triggered differently within Klaviyo. So there are a lot of brands I speak to where I audit their account and they think that they have got an abandoned cart flow, but what they've actually got is an abandoned checkout flow, but they've named it abandoned cart. They essentially run the same, but they're triggered. One is triggered by someone adding a product or an item to their cart, and one is someone getting all the way to checking out and abandon it from there. So you can create these designs and content, but you just set them up separately. As I mentioned here, these two flows share the same email content and structure. The only difference is how they're triggered in Klaviyo. Within Klaviyo, for the abandoned cart, the trigger is going to be added to cart, and then you want to have checkout started 0 times since started this flow, placed order 0 times since starting this flow, and has not been in the flow in the last 7 days, just to ensure that every single time someone adds to the cart, they're not always receiving the email. It can get a bit repetitive. And then for abandoned checkout, the trigger is going to be checkout started, placed order 0 times since starting the flow, and has not been in this flow in the last 7 days. So again, this is just ensuring that when people do place an order in the flow, they are not then receiving the remaining emails. Okay, so you can see here on the side what I've got the timings. Again, these emails go for 4 days for this flow. So you've got the first email that would go out roughly 20 minutes after checkout was abandoned or the cart was abandoned. And it's really simple. You just want to have a reminder with some dynamic content. So the dynamic content being showing the product that they had in their cart or abandoned at checkout. And you just want to simply remind them you've left them in this cart, like, come back. A day later, you would do similar. You'd have the dynamic product, but then you'd also handle some objections. So if you have some common FAQs you need to answer, do that there, or highlight whatever unique selling points your brand has at that point. Now, when it comes to the abandonment flows, majority of sales, like 75-80%, happen in this first 48-hour period. These two emails here don't contain any discount codes because, again, most sales are going to happen. You don't need to give up that, your margin there for that sale. But after that point, the amount of sales you get drops off dramatically. So what we like to do is add in a small discount, 10%, 20%, whatever it might be. Add that in for these last two emails. It just ensures that you can pick up those sort of extra sales, and it's worth it. It's worth giving a small discount for those sales. If your product is good enough, people will buy with that 10% off, and if your product is good enough, they will come back and buy from you again and again. So it's worth giving up that small margin for the idea that they're going to come back and purchase from you again and again and again. Okay, so the kind of content you want to be focusing on in these flows, reminding them what they left behind and reinforce why they wanted it in the first place. Hit your key selling points and USPs, layer in testimonials and social proof, handle the common objections, and then close with urgency to get them over the line. So we've got some examples here of the abandoned cart and checkout emails. You can see here they are super simple. They are just quick, swift reminders here. You've left this in your cart, finish checking out. This one here in particular goes out to people who haven't ordered from the welcome flow, so they've still got that 10% off, but it's very, very simple. This one here from Surreal, again, they're just highlighting products that someone's left in their basket or checkout, but what they've also done here is added in some content there. This would be like an us versus them. This is their unique selling points that they're highlighting why they're better than other cereals. So this is something you could do. And you see another version from Modern Beast here where they're doing a similar sort of thing where they're showing what makes them different compared to other brands. So that's the kind of content you want to add in. Okay, so now that we've covered flows 1, 2, and 3, we're moving on to the full flow, which is going to be the browse abandonment. So it's another abandonment flow. So similar to the abandoned cart and abandoned checkout, instead of the action being someone is adding to cart, it's just simply when they view the product. So they view the product, but it wasn't enough for them to add to the cart. So they were interested enough to stop and look. These emails bring them back to what caught their eye and nudge them towards adding it to their cart. So the trigger setup, the entire setup within Klaviyo is going to be trigger is viewed product, checkout started 0 times since starting this flow, placed order 0 times since starting this flow, added to cart 0 times since starting the flow, and has not been in the flow in the last 7 days. You can see here it's another flows that go on for about 4 days, and it's very, very similar to the abandoned cart and abandoned checkout. You're going to be doing very similar things. You're going to be reminding the customer of what they were viewing. You're going to be handling whatever objections they have. You're going to be highlighting your USPs, and then again, because the most sales happen in these first 2 days, the final 2 days, really small incentive just to get them over the line. So similar content to what you would get in the abandoned cart. So what you want to be focusing on, bring them back to that specific product they viewed, highlight the key benefits, reinforce why they wanted it, layer in social proof to build confidence, and then introduce urgency to get them off the fence and into the cart. And I've got some examples here of the browse abandonment flows. So super simple. They look very, very similar to the abandoned cart flows. Headlines, dynamic content, get them back in, get them clicking back onto the product they've just viewed here. This one here from Lusotan, a client of ours. That would be the dynamic product there. Return to my product. That's what we're trying to do. You can see this one here from Dividends down here. We're overcoming objections. We're highlighting USPs. That's the sort of content you want within this email flow. Now, moving on to the final, most important flow that you need for your brand is going to be the post-purchase flow. So this is obviously the moment someone places an order with you, and the idea here is that buyer's remorse can kick in really fast. This is your opportunity to immediately reassure them that they made the right decision and start building a real relationship with your brand. So the trigger is going to be placed order, and there's no profile filters needed for this one. So really simple. It's a very short flow. It's as simple as 20 minutes later, send a plain text email from the founder just thanking them from buying from the brand. We see these perform extremely well. And then 7 days later, if you've got other channels, get them to follow you on social media, maybe send in some content that you can use or leave a review, things like that. So really what you want to lead with, personal note from the founder, plain text works brilliant here. As I said, make them feel good about the decision and remove any doubt. Use this flow to grow your other channels. A simple ask to follow you on Instagram goes a long way while the excitement of a new purchase is still fresh. If it's relevant to your brand, walk them through how to get the most out of your product. So this doesn't always happen for every brand we work with. If someone buys a skincare bundle, maybe on this email or after the social media one, you have a how to get the best out of your product, how to use your product, things like that. You can add those in. The flow does not need to be long, okay? Because if you're sending consistent campaigns every month, which you absolutely should be, your customers are going to stay engaged. So once they exit here, they'll be receiving your campaigns, those free educational nurturing campaigns to drive that second purchase here. So it doesn't need to be too long. Looking at some examples here of the post-purchase emails, we've got the plain text email from the founder there for Dividends. So as I mentioned, removing that buyer's remorse, making them feel good about what they've purchased. And then also here, this brand from Sundays where it's join us on Instagram, you know, send in the photos of your dog and the products they've bought. You can help grow your socials. And then also here, as I mentioned, about how to get the best out of your product, this brand here, Franka Vinka, they sell like luxurious bikinis and things like that. So they're just showing how to care for the product. So you can implement content like that in the flow. So I just want to go over my final thoughts here. Okay, so 5 flows that I've mentioned, that is all you need to start generating serious revenue from email. That's all you need. The welcome series, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, and browse abandonment, and post purchase. Get these live, get them built properly, and they will work for your brand around the clock without you lifting a finger. If you've been watching this and recognizing gaps in your own account, flows that are missing, triggers that aren't set up correctly, and sequences that are too short, that is exactly what the strategy call is for. Go to oakhurstmarketing.com, first link in the description. We'll audit your Klaviyo account, show you what's broken, and give you a clear path on how to fix it. Your account, your data, a plan you can act on straight away. Link is below. 5 flows, welcome series, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, and post purchase. Each one targets a customer at different points in their journey. Someone who just opted in, someone who just browsed, someone who just added to cart, someone who was just one click away from buying, and someone who just bought. Together, they cover the entire funnel. And once they're running, they run without you even having to think about them. That's the thing about flows that are different to campaigns. Campaigns need input every single week. Flows compound. Every new subscriber, every abandoned cart, every new customer gets followed up automatically in the right sequence at the right time. That's how email becomes 30 to 40% of your total store revenue without needing a new campaign every single Monday morning.